I am just here to tell you guys that this little $150 rigid impact gun is the tits, man. This is an 1 11/16 socket to break that axle nut free. I was on it with that big long cheater pipe on the ground that you see with a 3/4 inch breaker bar, but that wasn't doing the job. It ended up being the PB blaster and combination of this little 1/2 inch impact gun with a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch adapter on this 1 11/16 socket that actually broke that axle nut free. When those are supposed to be torqued to 175 or 80 foot-pounds, this one was definitely on there a little bit more and a little rusted on there too from the winters here in New York, but this thing got the job done. I just let it ratchet, impact, and then I just pulsed the trigger a little bit and it finally popped that sucker free. So I gotta say, for this little impact gun, 150 bucks, 2 thumbs up, man. 5-star rating. I love this little guy. And you can't beat the lifetime warranty that you get with the rigid tools. I also am going to pick up a high impact Milwaukee. This is just a mid torque one. I'm gonna pick up a high torque Milwaukee so that hopefully we'll get the jobs done quicker. Now let's get back onto this old ball joint job. So this is the nut I'm talking about that goes over here onto your axle shaft itself, and then it holds your wheel hub and everything in place, and that sucker is torqued down tighter than tight. But we did get it busted free with the old rigid impact, and man, I am just super stoked. I didn't think I was going to be able to get that thing off.
That's what she said.
I was using that breaker bar with that 5-foot pipe attached to it, and it was literally rocking the whole truck backwards. But now that we got that off, we can get a 9/16 12-point socket out to get on the back of these bolts right here, which hold the actual hub assembly to the steering knuckle. We can loosen those up, see if we can't start by trying to loosen this hub assembly up by tapping it and getting a chisel or something in between it to separate it. That is a little crusty, so I don't know how well that theory is going to work. We may have to resort to another trick and put the socket back onto the backs of these bolts, fire up the truck, use the power steering to turn the wheel, and hopefully walk this out a little bit so that we can separate it. Once the hub is off, then we can drop the knuckle down off of there after we remove the bolts from the ball studs on the ball joints, and then we can get to pressing out these ball joints, hopefully getting this all replaced. We also have to get this axle shaft out, but that will happen once we get the hub assembly off. And when we do that, we have to try and get this U-joint replaced. Well guys, we are taking intermission number 1. This wheel hub is literally just bonded to the truck so badly it will not break free. I need to run out to the store. If I'm able to go out and get just like a little short 1.5 inch extension, I think that I may be able to utilize the power steering of the truck to hopefully start to push that wheel hub assembly out and get it out of the steering knuckle. So I need to go out and grab that stuff, then probably we'll just call it off for the night, resume in the morning, and it looks like we may only be able to get the driver's side done. So we will pick this video back up here shortly. It's that holy Sunday, and I'm hoping that the old Lord above is on my side. We can get this damn wheel hub off this freaking 24 Valve Cummins so that we can do these ball joints. I had to throw the towel in last night, take a little break, but we're back at it right now, full force. We're gonna go and try and get this thing separated so that we can finish this. Probably not gonna get the passenger side done, but we are at least, hopefully, with any luck, going to get the driver's side wheel hub assembly changed, new upper and lower ball joints, and hopefully a new U-joint in the axle shaft. Here we go, let's get into it. God, dude. Oh, it has been a struggle. It's been a battle. These things were in there so much worse than I thought they were going to be. I did not think this was going to take me this much time to get done, but we have finally gotten some progress, got this wheel hub popped out. Ooh wee. So what I did was ended up heating the crap out of it with an acetylene torch. Just kept heating it, beating it, heating it, beating it, heating it, and beating it some more. And we finally did the socket and extension trick on the back of the 12.916 bolt. There's 4 of them that hold the hub into the steering knuckle. So we put that back on there. We started the truck, tried to utilize that power steering once again to see if it would just budge it. All the meanwhile, using lots of penetrating oil, PB blaster, liquid wrench, torch, and BFH. Fired up the truck, had the socket, the extension on the 12.916 bolts on the back, turned the wheel, got it pinched in there, and used that power steering to finally hear a little pop, and got out of the truck, looked, noticed that the wheel hub was starting to inch its way out a little bit, jumped back up in there, cranked it some more, really just had to, you gotta put some muscle into it if it's rusted in there. After you're heating it and beating it, penetrant, all that, you gotta put some muscle into it. Just cranked it down some more, heard a big pop, got out, looked, saw that the one side had busted free, put it on the other side, did it again, saw that that one busted out. So I think now if I pull these 9/16 bolts out, we might be able to just rip that hub out, get the axle shaft out, and move on with this project. Oh yes, Lord Jeebus, thanks for being on my side today. That's what I'm talking about right there, baby. You can see where it finally popped itself out of the knuckle. See, I still got those 9/16 bolts in there, and still actually have the socket and extension on the one right there. And what it does is it pinches itself up against the axle right there, and when you crank the wheel, it pushes it, it works it, and finally you can see where I've beat it with a chisel and a hammer and all that crap down in there. Enough heat and beating it, finally just jiggled it free a little bit, knocked a lot of that rust out of there, finally just was able to pop it out. But I am not looking forward to doing the passenger side, let me tell you. That's gonna be for another day. It's obviously not gonna get done today, but now that I know I can get these suckers separated, we definitely will try to dive into that passenger side soon. Oh yeah. Yeah, that U-joint definitely needs to get replaced. She's a little stiff. We're good that way, but not this way. New U-joint is in the axle shaft, and let me just say this was a C sucker to get out of here. So usually you know that I would do a U-joint by using the ball joint press, but these caps are larger than the U-joints in your drive shaft, so the ball joint press wouldn't work. Nah, so what did I have to do? Lots of heat, BFH. Oh man, the torch and the big freaking hammer have been my best friends this whole weekend trying to get this done. I just want to say that if you are going to tackle this job on your own truck, your second gen Cummins, Ram, whatever it is, 2500, if you live in a northern state where you get snow and salt and all that rusty goodness that nobody freaking likes, well, you're in for a treat when you go to do this job, because this literally took me way longer than I expected it to, and I don't know if I want to do the other side. I may do it, but I may just pay, because I can't afford really to have a whole weekend tied up into doing this. So we got the video out there for you now. I'll explain how it's done, and I just got to put this thing back together. It's about to be dark out here, so let me get it put back together. The axle shaft is going in. As you know, the ball joints upper and lower ball joints are done. I was able to press the upper and lower ball joints out with my ball joint press kit, and I don't have the master adapters, so you are able to do it with just a 4-wheel drive ball joint press kit. We put the steering spindle knuckle back on there, never unhooked the tie rod from that. We just popped it off of the ball joints and then laid it off to the side. Now we got the U-joint in here and we're good, so we're gonna slide the axle shaft back in. We cleaned up the surface around our steering knuckle so that we got a good clean mating surface for the new wheel hub assembly, and we're just gonna put it back together now. I just gotta tighten down the Zerk fitting in that U-joint before we stick it back in the truck. So do you see how I position the U-joint so that the Zerk fitting is on the back side? So if you were to come in here, instead of being all crammed up in here with your brakes and all that, it's gonna be more back here where it's accessible, so you can get a grease gun onto it. And let me show you after I slide this axle up in there. So if you put that Zerk fitting in facing the actual axle tube, closest to the axle tube and not out towards the actual wheel hub, you'll be able to get your grease gun in there easier to grease it up if you have a greasable joint that you put in your truck. If it's facing out here towards the wheel hub, then obviously you're going to have your caliper bracket and all that crap in the way, and you won't be able to access it again. And I highly doubt that you're going to want to have to pull this shit apart to redo it just to flip that U-joint. Yeah, you're not gonna. You'll just let it go ungreased until it has to get swapped out again, and it'll probably have to get swapped out fairly quickly. So while I'm installing this hub back onto the truck, I obviously get it in there, got the axle shaft lined up into it with the splines, and then lined up the 4 holes for the 12.916 bolts that hold the hub in place. Started them by hand with my fingers, and now I'm using those to draw it in. I'm doing this just like you would put a wheel on, and kind of just working around and pulling it in so it pulls it in evenly and not cockeyed or crooked. So you wanna try to crisscross and do all that stuff that you would do when installing a wheel on your truck so that it draws this thing in nicely. The axle nut right here that goes on the outside of the hub and holds your axle tight and good and holds everything essentially in place. 175 foot-pounds, 180, whichever, 175, 180. Just get it up there nice and tight. If you don't have a torque wrench that goes that high, which my highest torque wrench goes to 150, I'm just gonna throw the impact on there and let it do work, and then just get on it with a big old cheater bar and make sure that sucker is tight. Got a brand new fresh cotter pin to go in through this castle nut here on the axle, because the old one was just rusted beyond belief and snapped. Harbor Freight, you can get yourself a whole kit of these cotter pins. $5. Looks like we're in good shape, boys. Let's put the frickin' brakes back on, put the wheel on, put this girl on the ground, and not take her for a test ride till tomorrow. You're gonna have to hold out for the test drive. Tomorrow we'll get that. Well guys, it is completely pretty dark out here. I mean, it's still a little light. It looks a little lighter on camera, but we are definitely in the dark. So there is our fresh new upper ball joint. We got our new fresh lower end down here. Oh yeah, there's somewhere down in there. There you go. So you can see that. Fresh U-joint in our axle shaft. Oh, what a freaking fun time that was. Yeah, just lots of heat and hitting it on the yokes, and it will start to break those caps free. They do have retaining clips on the inside of the yoke, not on the outside, so you can see the top of the cap right there. No retaining clip. The retaining clips are on the inside, so you gotta punch those out first with a screwdriver and a hammer, and then I heated them, and lots of penetrating oil. Kept tapping the yokes and then hitting on the ends of the caps until they started to just budge and move, and finally they knocked themselves out of there, and we were able to get that new U-joint in the axle shaft. The real bear of everything, aside from getting that U-joint out, was that wheel hub though. But there you go, we got a nice fresh rotor on the truck now. You can see that good wheel hub, that nice clean fresh wheel hub right there in the center too. Got a fresh cotter pin in our castle nut for the axle nut there, and our 3rd gen brakes are back on the truck. I do need to spray them down badly with more brake clean before I put the wheel on in the morning, but I am done for the night. I've had enough. We have to decide what I want to do with that damn ABS cable too. Right now I just zipped it to the coil spring so that it was out of the way, but I don't have ABS up in the front of my truck, so I think what I'm gonna do is probably just cut that freaking thing off down there on the top of the knuckle. But that will be for another time. Right now we are gonna wrap this up and go inside. I need to shower and just get something to eat, man. I had enough of this freaking truck this weekend, and whew, it's over. So I apologize that I didn't do like a super in-depth video on this, but it's really just straightforward, and most of it is just aggravating. It's frustrating, especially like I said, if you live in a northern state and you got some rust on your truck. Like my truck isn't that rusty, but there was enough there to make this just a nightmare, and it was tough, but with being consistent and just patient and working it, finally things came apart and we were able to get the job done. So now we have to worry about getting the passenger side done, but we will find time to figure that out and take care of it. But I am gonna get out of here, dude. I am just tired and need to get something to eat, do my laundry. Oh god. I will see you guys in the next video. Leave a like on your way out, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and shit, I'll see ya. Peace. I just wanna